welcome to another episode of Bonsai Stuff Podcast. It's me, Scott Martin from Bonsai Matsu, and I just wanted to say welcome back. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for listening. It seems to be that lots of people are being actively involved, which is great, very enjoyable. And this episode, I just want to cover off a few things that I've been doing lately. I suppose how I spent the last month here in Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. It's cold. We've had a really cold snap over the last few weeks. Trees have definitely looked for dormancy. So black pine season is rampant. So a lot of my time has been spent plucking needles, bud selecting, cleaning things up, removing fertiliser, making sure that there's not too much moss starting to grow up the tree trunks, that sort of thing. So with the pines, my autumn-winter routine is to go through and clean up the sites where I decandled over summer, and there's multiple new buds growing from those areas, and try and clean them back to maximum of 2, no more than 2. Sometimes 1 if they're too long. Try and push the growth back as far as I possibly can onto the tree. Also to allocate the tree's resources by needle plucking. So that means where it's a weaker area, you leave more needles. Where it's a stronger area, you take away more needles to leave less resources. Also, look at the wiring at this time of the year. If the wire's cut in or it's not doing its job, remove it, and then look at rewiring the tree to set the structure, open up so there's a fair share of the sun's resources or energy can be allocated evenly around the tree. Make sure you don't have branches which are being shaded by higher branches, otherwise they will become weaker and eventually die. So I've lost count of how many black pines I've got in my collection, but it's hundreds. It's lots and lots. And this time of the year then becomes a very busy time. But it's essential too, if you don't enjoy working on the trees, then don't get black pines. They are a tree that systematically need to be worked on a couple of times throughout the year at least. Winter, autumn for bud selection and needle plucking and wiring and shaping and styling. Repotting around about August for us in Melbourne. Then you've got decandling time in December. So it's really only a couple of times a year really that you need to thoroughly get in there and work on them, but you need to thoroughly work on them. That's the key. And there's a real advantage to having multiple of the same species. Having many trees of the same variety, no matter what they are, allows for repetition of your work, which means that your skill set becomes a lot more efficient. If you, for instance, only have, say, one trident maple that needs pruning and that only gets into the workshop once a year, plus you've got the spring growth that needs to be pinched out, then defoliation in summer, then you look at repotting that one tree every 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it's going to be. You will not become as refined as if you've got 10 or 20 of those trees, because repetition allows for you to refine your techniques and become very proficient at it too. You're forced into a corner where if you've got a window of opportunity to get the work done, having multiple of that same species will then force you to become quick and efficient. Decandling doesn't need to be something which is going to take you 15 hours per tree. It can be something which can take you 20 minutes for a smaller tree and, half hour to an hour for maybe a larger tree. So it's not something which is going to chew up a lot of time, because you'll become very fast at it. It allows you to build your bank of knowledge from experience too. You'll know how trees respond of the same species. Let's say you decandle too soon on a smaller tree this year, and then next year you look at the growth results of that tree and you go, wow, I did it a little bit too early, which means the needles are a little bit too long. It's had too long to regrow the buds, so therefore I've lost some of my structure because the tree's pushed away from where it should be. Then next time you decandle it, you maybe do it a little bit later. But if you've only got one tree you've got to do that with, then it's very hard to get that right. So having a bunch of the same trees really allows you to open it up. And it's easy to read in a book or online how to do things, but experience counts for a lot when it comes to bonsai. You know, you can get a lot of guidance on things, but it's, you know, it may not be entirely accurate to your microclimate or your conditions in which your trees are growing. So with the black pines, just the other thing, when you do start cleaning your trees, start from the top of the tree and work your way down. You know, as you're needle plucking, as you're cutting, cut from the apex and work your way down to the lower branches. It allows for gravity to help as you're plucking and removing. It's dropping lower and lower and lower. If you start cleaning from the bottom of the tree and work your way up, then you'll find that by the time you get to the apex, all the needles you've plucked are then on the lower branches that you've got to go through and clean them out again. So it's always much easier to do it that way. So what else has happened this month? Oh, that's right, we had our National Bonsai Show, which focused purely on Australian natives for bonsai, and it was absolutely fantastic. The quality of the trees were awesome that were on display. The wares that were being sold, the local pot makers, the international pots that had been brought in, all of the native stock trees that were for sale were fantastic. So, you know, everyone should be commended for that. But we also had international demonstrator, which people may know, Ryan Neal, just a small bloke in the bonsai world, came out as a lead demonstrator presenter, and another fellow, Hugh Grant, one of our local talents from up north, were on display, and it was amazing. It was an awesome weekend. Great to catch up with bonsai people. I keep coming back to bonsai. You know, it's about the trees, but it's also about the people that you meet and what you do when you're involved. It's not an isolated community. We're very connected to each other in one way or another, and it's great to catch up with people. I find the bonsai shows are a really good opportunity to you know, see that there's so much fun involved with bonsai, and there's warmth, and there's a lot of talent, and there's inspiration. You know, there's a real driver when you come back from a show to you know, get actively more involved with whatever it is to do with your bonsai. So Australian natives are a big part of the future of bonsai within Australia, well and truly. They are awesome. Another thing that happened too just before around the time of the national show was I had a tree collected to go up to our National Bonsai collection up in Canberra, which was a very big honour. I think getting a tree to the quality that's accepted to get into the national collection for a temporary visit of, you know, 1 to 2 years is something to really aspire to with all of your trees. And the fellas up there, shout out to Lee and Sam, two of the nicest blokes and most talented blokes you'll meet in bonsai. I think that it would do everybody proud to get more involved with the national collection. So other things that have been happening this last month, I've had presentations at local bonsai clubs. One for Bonsai Society of Victoria talking about black pines. There's been specialist training classes, full days, multiple sessions. Again, full of great people, lots of fantastic trees, and these courses have been running now for, I think this is the 5th year I've been doing them. So the trees are coming back over and over and over. So it's really nice to see the level and quality of the trees improving every year, because, you know, they're putting hard work into it and being diligent with the work that's required and accurate with the work that's required, and it's paying dividends, which is really nice. There's been workshops, nighttime workshops with people coming in, quick fixes on trees and styling help, or, you know, whatever it is that needs to be done. There's been beginners classes for people that are just starting out on their bonsai journey, which is great. And it's, you know, I love looking at trees, bonsai, through the eyes of a beginner, where everything has maximum potential. You know, no matter what it is, you sometimes become a bit jaded when you look at things for so long, or you become skewed by your own collection or whatever it is your trees that you touch on. But when you get the beginners classes and you see that glint in their eye, it's fantastic. It re-inspires you, reinvigorates you, and maybe pushes you a little bit to look at things differently within your own collection, because everything has potential. You know, if you put the time and effort into it, any tree you've got will become great over time. You know, you'll hear that, you know, there's structural flaws or this is incorrect or that's incorrect. Over time, that sort of stuff can heal itself. You can work on it. You can improve things. But also, age with your bonsai is one of its greatest assets. So the longer they live and the more that they develop, they don't always necessarily need to follow all the systematic guidelines, but they become beautiful as they get older and older. You know, I was talking the other night with a fella at a workshop, and we looked at this young pine and giving it a, you know, first styling and whatever else, and we looked at the first branch on the tree was a back branch. I mean, we talked about it, you know, whether it follows the guidelines, and that really the first branch, in all sense of word, should be, you know, a left or a right branch. It should be a main branch. But this tree having its first branch as a back branch, the way the trunk bent, you could see the depth of the tree straight away, and having the dominant branch being just a little bit higher than that actually really added character to the tree. So by strictly following the recommendations or the preconceived idea of what is perfect or beautiful with the tree would have been to a great cost. And I think the tree will long term be much nicer having this imperfection to it than what it would have been without it. It would have been nowhere near as good. So yeah, there's been lots of courses, lots of involvement, lots of educational stuff, I suppose, is the way to go. You know, I've talked about it before, but the 3 I's of what I do, you know, is to inspire with what I do, which is what, you know, the Instagram and Facebook and all my trees I feel do, to show people that it is possible to get to nice trees by doing the work. To inform, to basically tell everybody everything I possibly can to help them get them to the point that they want to get to with their bonsai, and then it's to involve, to get people hands-on, not sitting back watching other people do things, but it's actually, you know, using the information that you've got to improve your skill set. So therefore, you know, years and years down the track, you know, bonsai's not a short course. It's a lifetime journey that we all take, and I think that, you know, I really feel privileged sometimes to be involved at some level with that path that people are going to be on. So I've also had a lot of time working on my own trees. You know, it's been one of those times where it's working till 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, constantly plucking needles. That seems to be the common thread at the moment for me, which is great. I really enjoy it. You know, it's something that sort of is a little bit daunting before you get into it, but then when the ball starts to roll for the couple of months that I have to do it, it really becomes therapeutic, if you like.
I spent my youth dropping coins in a wishing well.
So now I've got one of my longest term customers, Bayley, with me, and I just want to check with him what inspires him about bonsai. So Bayley, tell us, why do you love bonsai?
Thanks, Scott, and hi everyone. Bonsai, look, I'm 38 now, so bonsai started for me around 20 years ago when a friend of mine took me into a nursery. I knew very little about it prior to then, but then something inside of me clicked, I guess, and instantly fell in love with them. So I was the guy taking cuttings and planting them and throwing anything I could into a pot to try and turn it into a bonsai. I guess for me, from an overall perspective, it's all-encompassing in terms of the tradition, somewhat the rules. I've been fortunate enough to go to Japan and get a real feel for, again, the history and their love for the trees. For me, it's a living art. It's an ability to care for something, and it grows with you. So I look at my collection as a reflection upon my life and my life story.
So you and I have known each other for 5 years now, I suppose. 5 years it would be.
Yep.
We've been in contact with things, and you've worked on your trees over that time, and we've done training courses, we've done workshops, we've done all the stuff that we've talked about earlier in the podcast. Do you think that you've changed the way that you approach your trees now, and do you see a benefit with the changes?
Oh, absolutely. Meeting you, I've got to say, has been an inspiration from a bonsai perspective, but also, I guess, a personal growth perspective. I'd read plenty of books. I hadn't joined any clubs prior to a trip to Japan, and once I went to Japan, I knew that I realised that I knew very, very little. So I came back and joined a club, and through that club, I met your good self. So, and then from there, my knowledge and understanding of how to look after the trees, to get the right shape. Good structure is good bonsai. I think about it, every time I'm working on my trees. Yeah, it's absolutely grown phenomenally. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Bayley. Cheers, mate.
Nice. Thank you.
All right, so what's up next? I've got another demonstration coming up for another local bonsai club, which will be a lot of fun. There's soil making to happen as well. I've got all the mixed components. Got to get the concrete mixer out and start putting that together. There's going to be preparation time for repotting, which means going through, checking pots, making sure I've got everything I need, flagging which trees need to be repotted so it's not a surprise for me when it does happen. Keep working through the black pines, lots more needle plucking, more workshops, more training, and hopefully somewhere down the track a nice session or two on my new surfboard. So it'd be enjoyable for the next couple of weeks, I think, sitting in the workshop with the heater on while it's minus 15 outside. Anyway, until next time, good bonsai.